You probably know gnomes as the little figurines of tiny white bearded men with pointy hats and round bellies that are placed in and around gardens. But these creatures are far more than just simple landscape designs. They were once revered as earth elementals that dwelled in the earth well below the surface. They were magical, whimsical beings, once known as fierce protectors of precious stones and metals found deep in that earth where they lived. But why do we care? Hi, I'm Rebecca of Rad Notes Book Coaching. I help speculative fiction writers see creatures not just as fantastical beings, but as characters, symbols, and archetypes that deepen narrative. You see, an alchemist back in 16th century Sweden named Paracelsus coined the term gnomes. It's derived from the Latin term genomus, or earth dweller. Now, he stated that these little creatures, they move through the earth, much like fish move through water. That's important for us writers. So this term and his descriptions, they were published in his book, 1566. Yes, I said that right. It's called A Book of Nymphs, Sliths, and Salamanders, and on the other spirits. But gnomes have been around for much longer than since the 16th century. They were found in ancient Greece and Roman mythology, actually. The Greeks believed that gnomes were earth elementals, dwelling in the earth and guarding its treasures. See, there's a theme here. The Romans called their gnomes lairs and considered them household gods that protected the home and family. Protection, protection. Are you hearing this over and over again? Guarding and protection. This is going to be important when we're writing our stories with having gnomes within them. So both ancient mythologies of gnomes before the Common Era reflect more paganistic concepts. So pagans focus their lives on loving and caring for Mother Nature. It's a mutual respect of Earth. That means that gnomes, who are known as guardians of the earth, specifically protect precious stones and metals. Yes, I keep saying that, but we're going to get into why we keep saying this. So it leads to the question, why did all these stones and these metals need such fierce protection in ancient times? Well, let's take a little deeper dive into this. Greece's underground mines are actually filled with precious stones like quartz, jade, and garnet. That's just to name a few. But here's the interesting part. Greece is not a major producer, global producer of gemstones. So does that mean that the gnomes are actually doing what they were created to do, to protect the land? And that protection is still occurring today? Why not? It's a good question for at least for, a writer, and that's why we're here. And while we're at it, here's some other questions to kind of think about while you're brainstorming the idea of putting and utilizing gnomes in your speculative fiction story. So let's talk about world building for a second. Now, I've talked a lot about their purpose is to protect the Earth's natural resources, but what does that underground layer look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? Why do only certain gnomes get to live in the gardens? Maybe it's like the retired ones get to hang out up top and all the other ones got to work down below. So it's a nice form of retirement, just kind of hang out in the garden. Doesn't sound too abnormal, right? Do gnomes have natural predators? What if you wrote a story that breaks the stereotype? What would your story look like? I'll tell you what, here's some additional writing prompts that could possibly get those brain juices flowing. What if gnomes look harmless in the urban garden during the day, become nightfall, they wake up and they prank the locals? This one I'm thinking like a middle grade kind of story. But it could also be horror and make it really fun. What if gnomes and their pointy hats actually held more than just their hair? What else can we put in there? What do they need when traveling from the surface to below the ground? What if gnomes rose up against humans because they have a complete apathy towards nature and now humans have to deal with the consequences? That sounds like more of a contemporary romance. What if humans destroyed all the gnome caves around the world that protected all the precious stones and metals? What would the new world look like? You see, gnomes are everywhere. They're not just in small gardens. So if you're interested in gnomes being and to see who they are in a community near you, here's the cool part. There are gnome festivals held all over the world at all different times of the year. So like places like Germany, Sweden, England, For instance, they hold annual festivals. The United States, many states have actual formal organized museums. Yeah, gnome museums. Like, what else are you going to do on the weekend when your friends come to visit? You can go to Missouri, Florida, Washington, Maine, California, Wisconsin, Iowa, New York. Like, they're everywhere. You could find one close to you. So, if you're learning how creatures can play different roles in your story, hit the subscribe button for new insights into speculative fiction writing. Thanks for listening.